I get in arguments about the Prodigy Mike Bennett all the time. A lot of people complain to me that he works a very boring style. And my response to that is always, he's getting you mad. That's what he's supposed to do. That's the idea.
Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner. Heels are not supposed to be loved.
Exactly. They're not supposed to go out there and do high-flying moves and spin around and make a hand clap for all the fans to clap along with them. They're supposed to piss you off by doing technical wrestling and mat holds and all that kind of stuff.
And I would think if anybody would know about being a heel in Ring of Honor, it would be me. And, you hit it right on the head. That Mike's purpose is very different in the company than say, someone like El Genericos would be, obviously. So, he's grown into that role and does it well. I mean, there's a reason he's there.
And speaking of Ring of Honor, what's your feelings on the current state of the product right now, both on television and their live IPW?
I haven't seen any of it. It's hard for me to comment on it because I don't get the television here in San Diego. I've caught glimpses here and there when I'm on the road. And it feels different than it did, during, say, the HD Net heyday when myself and David Lagana were writing the television, and Jimmy Cornette, who's always been a mentor to me and a great friend, does things a certain way, and it's always interesting to see him translate that style to a much more athletic base. I mean, I've always been a big fan of Ring of Honor, and always will be, so it's just good for me to see the guys still able to work and see the company running shows, and obviously, you'd have to be blind not to see some of the feedback about the snafus with the internet pay-per-view, and I feel terrible about that. I mean, sounds like a lot of that largely is amounting to technological issues, and hopefully we'll get that figured out because I see the things going that way further as we move forward.
Yeah, well, I've heard that their last one went off without a hitch. I wasn't home that day because I was at a football game, so I didn't get a chance to order it or watch it, but it sounds, at least to me, like they finally worked out those issues, so kudos to them going forward.
Yeah, you got to realize, too, I mean, it's still a relatively new technology, and it keeps changing and evolving, and for a company like Sinclair Broadcasting, who had no background in it whatsoever, for the fact that they were able to actually pull enough of the server power together and get a crack staff on there to get it taken care of or moving in the right direction anyway, I think we have a tendency as a society to jump on and harp on the negative real fast. And the reality is they haven't been doing it very long. So, I don't know, I'm always a fan of taking a deep breath and kind of let things play out. But hopefully they got it figured out.
Yeah, it seems like I said, it seems from what I heard that they had a really good show and that there weren't any technical issues, so hopefully it'll stay that way going forward. But I have to give the office back to Nick because he's got a couple more questions, one from the chat, I think, as well. So, Nick, I'm going to let you tag in here and ask what you want to ask.
Just going back to the topic of Mike Bennett, I wanted to add that he's doing so well in Ring of Honor. He's developed such a character, and with Maria Kanellis by his side, I think that enhances the hate that the fans would have for him. And I've enjoyed watching him Ring of Honor. I've enjoyed watching him back when he was in New England Championship Wrestling. And we actually have a question from the chat, and they want to know if you would go back to New England Championship Wrestling after the 7 Levels of Hate, if you're able to win.
Oh, certainly, man. Sheldon Goldberg is, in my view, top-notch as far as a promoter goes. Paid serious respect to what myself and Colt Cabana were trying to do, and I'm so blessed and honored to have been a part of NECW and have him as a promotional partner for the series. I can't speak highly enough of Sheldon. I think he's, not to go back to a negative, but losing Sheldon as an associate member of the National Wrestling Alliance is a big blow in my view.
Yeah, I agree. And Sheldon is a great man. We've interviewed him a couple of times here on Angry Marks, and we're planning on scheduling another interview with him, so I'm looking forward to that. But my final question for you, Adam, is with the 7 Levels of Hate that you have with Colt Cabana taking place all around the world, all around the United States, and now even in Australia, would you consider this your biggest and or best rivalry to date?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to argue against that. Previous to this, I would have said Brent Albright, just with the series of matches and things that we did from end of 2007 through like the end of 2008. But this with Cabana now goes back a couple of years and a couple of different title changes, and now with this series the way it is, and the kind of buzz that we've been able to generate with it, and put on the kind of matches that we've been doing, and just by definition the international aspect now involved with it. This will probably go down, I would think, as probably the greatest rivalry that I'll have as a performer, I think. And I'm well aware of that and fine with it. I probably agree.
All right. Well, Stevie, the floor is yours.
All right, thanks, Nick. A couple more questions, and then we know you got more interviews, and you're going to be catching a plane tomorrow, so you probably got some packing to do. But I want to know if you can give us any insight into your plan in the 7th level once you get to Melbourne. What are you going to do to send Colt Cabana packing once and for all?
I mean, let's think about it. It's a steel cage, which means you're trapped. Ostensibly, it also means that you're not going to have any help from the outside. So, look, the road that we've been down in the last 6 of these things, from the I Quit match to the street fight there in New England to the I Quit match in Minnesota, even doing 2 out of 3 falls in Kansas City, then back to a dog collar, and then finally a Texas death match. There practically isn't anything we haven't done that you can think of within the realm of professional wrestling, especially with the heightened state of violence that we've been accustomed to here over the last couple of months. So then, being in a cage just adds to that. So it's fight. It's fight without the opportunity to flight. You know what I mean? I mean, we're going to have to get in there and mix it up and get down and dirty and make it happen. The bottom line is, as I say, if I didn't win 4 out of these 7, it was time for me to pack it up and get out of the NWA. And so that's what I'm fighting for. I put everything on the line. I've got to back up what I've said. I've got to prove myself, not just to Colt Cabana, but to me. And the stage is set, man. Game 7, it don't get any bigger. It doesn't get any better. 2 guys that have known each other 15 years, there ain't a damn thing that I'm going to do that's going to surprise him and vice versa. I think we're pretty well akin and in tune with what the other person is going to try to do. And it's just about seeing who the better man is. And that'll happen on Saturday in Melbourne.
Absolutely it will. And you mentioned there was probably no stipulation that you and Cole haven't done, and the only ones I could think of while you were answering that question were 2 really awful matches, a coal miner's glove match and a blindfold match, and I don't think you wanted to do either one of those.
No, I mean, somebody else brought up perhaps we could have done a bra and panties match.
No.
Which, yeah, I don't know, let that visual sink in for a minute. And then,
it did, and I didn't
get rid of it as fast as you can, yeah.
Although I will say this much, Colt Cabana is such a character that if anybody could pull off a man doing a bra and panties match, he'd probably find a way.
I'm still going to go with no on that.
I'm going with no, too. I'm just saying he's a funny guy, and that's all I'm going to say is he could make some comedy out of it.
I hope he ain't that funny. Let's just put it that way. Although I would say, and I'll put this on the record, I think I have a nicer ass than Cabana.
I'm not going to argue with that, Nick. I don't think you are either. So we'll
pass.
Yeah, we'll let that one get. But to wrap it up on a note about the series, I know these have been in different territories and promotions, as Nick said, all around the world now, going to Australia. But is there any way that these are all going to be compiled together into a DVD or a set of some kind that people who didn't see individual chapters along the way will be able to see the whole thing in one group?
Yeah, I would hope so. And I've got about being pretty steadfast in getting the footage from each of the matches. And I've got most of that compiled, and I'm certain that I'll have this weekend's festivities documented and in my hands. If not, when I leave Australia shortly thereafter. But yeah, it's just about finding the right partner, I think, and making this happen. What I'd like to do, and this might be a pipe dream, but what I'd like to do is kind of sit down and make a documentary kind of out of it too, because I feel like it's a pretty interesting story, just how it all came about and the work that went into making this happen. I mean, I'm proud of the fact that 2 guys set about getting 7 promotions across the country and obviously down in Australia, 7 different areas of the world on the same page and behind the same angle, working towards the same goal. I think it says a lot about not just myself and Cabana, but it says a lot about what can happen when people are willing to sacrifice and willing to work together towards the same steps going forward. I think it's kind of a how-to in a lot of ways, and I think some promoters and maybe some people involved in the National Wrestling Alliance could learn something from.